Welcome, dear listeners, to the shadows of mystery and allure that shroud one of Paris's grandest jewels, the Opera House. Here, within these hallowed halls, where the air vibrates with the echoes of arias and the whispers of ballet slippers against marble, a darker presence lingers. A specter, a phantom, ensconced in the heart of opulence, weaving a tale so compelling, it has transcended time to beckon us closer. Tonight, we peel back the velvet curtains of reality to gaze into the abyss of the unknown, where music intertwines with madness, ambition dances with despair, and love, in its most twisted form, reaches out from the shadows. Our story is not just one of haunting melodies or whispered secrets in the dimly lit corridors. It's an exploration of the human spirit, confronted by the inexplicable, the unseen, and the unfathomable. In the Paris Opera House, an edifice of beauty and grandeur, the line between the living and the spectral blurs, and the air you breathe might be shared with the breath of a ghost, the infamous Phantom of the Opera. As we venture into this tale of eerie nocturnes and unlit passageways, remember, dear listeners, to keep a candle burning. Not just to ward off the chill of the night air, but to remind us that in the deepest darkness, there's always a flicker of light, a glimmer of understanding to be sought. So, let us begin, as we unravel the mystery of the Phantom of the Paris Opera House, and perhaps, in its echoing chambers, we might find not just a ghost, but a reflection of our deepest fears and desires. The curtain rises. In the heart of Paris, where the Seine whispers tales of centuries past, stands an edifice to human creativity and passion. The Paris Opera House, a marvel of architecture, with its grand facade, sweeping staircases, and majestic auditorium adorned with gold and velvet. It's a world unto itself. A sanctuary for the arts, where the most talented singers, dancers, and musicians converge, driven by ambition to etch their names into the annals of history. Yet, within this temple of artistry, under the glow of chandeliers, and amidst the echoes of applause, a shadow lingers. It's here, among the whispered conversations in dressing rooms, and the hurried footsteps in dimly lit hallways, that tales of an otherworldly presence begin to unfold. The cast and crew, though accustomed to the spotlight, find themselves ensnared in a narrative far darker than any opera staged under the proscenium arch. Rumors, at first mere murmurs among the ensemble, grow into a chorus of fear and apprehension. They speak of a phantom, an apparition that dwells in the labyrinthine corridors beneath the stage, where the light of day is but a distant memory. This spectral entity, cloaked in mystery as much as in darkness, is said to be the cause of unexplained phenomena that plague the opera house. Sudden gusts of cold air, inexplicable shadows that flit across walls, and voices that echo with no discernible source. Accidents, too, have marred the opera house's storied history, each more puzzling than the last. A backdrop falling unexpectedly, narrowly missing the performers below. Lights flickering out during key performances, plunging the stage into darkness. Costumes found torn, jewels missing, as if tampered with by unseen hands. And though many seek rational explanations, the whisper of the phantom's name instills a deep, unsettling fear. Some members of the opera house scoff at these tales, attributing them to the overactive imaginations of artists and the superstitions of stagehands. Yet, even the skeptics cannot deny the chill that descends upon them when passing through certain corridors, or the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. It's this ambiguity, the dance between disbelief and dread, that fuels the legend of the phantom. As we delve into this tale of shadow and light, of voices that rise in song only to be swallowed by silence, remember, dear listeners, that the Paris Opera House is not just a stage for this story, but a character in its own right. Within its walls, beauty and terror walk hand in hand, and a boundary between the real and the ethereal blurs. So, let us draw the curtain and step into a world where the past never truly dies, and some secrets refuse to remain hidden in the darkness. Welcome to the Paris Opera House, where the performance is about to begin. But be warned, once the music starts, there may be no turning back. The Unseen Maestro. Amidst the whispers of the unseen and the shadows that dance in the corners of the Paris Opera House, there emerges a talent, luminous as the morning star, a young soprano, whose voice seems to capture the very essence of light, drawing all you hear towards the radiance of her song. Her name is whispered reverently among the patrons, and enviously among your peers. But in your heart, there is a yearning, a longing for guidance that will lift her from the realm of the talented to the echelons of the unforgettable. It is in this crucible of ambition and desire that the phantom, the opera house's most elusive inhabitant, begins to weave his influence. Unseen, yet ever present, he watches from the shadows, his attention captured not by the brilliance of the stage lights, but by the purity of her voice. It is a voice that stirs something long dormant within him, a spark of inspiration amidst the solitude of his spectral existence. One night, as the young soprano lingers on the stage, lost in the haunting beauty of an aria, a voice reaches out to her from the darkness. It is a voice like none she has ever heard, imbued with the sorrow of unfulfilled dreams and the wisdom of a life dedicated to the perfection of art. The phantom, speaking from the veil of shadows, offers her a gift beyond measure, his mentorship, the guidance of a maestro who has transcended the constraints of the mortal world. With a mixture of fear and fascination, she accepts, drawn to the mystery of her unseen mentor. Their sessions begin in secret, held in the dead of night, when the opera house lies silent, save for the echo of their music. The phantom, from his hidden vantage, teaches her not just the technicalities of voice, but the soul of music, how to imbue each note with emotion, making her performances not just heard but felt. That with each lesson, the young soprano feels the weight of her mentor's presence, a shadow that looms ever larger. She begins to sense his influence in every corner of her life, his guidance shaping not just her art, but her very being. The opera house, once a place of light and beauty, now holds a tinge of darkness, a sense of being watched by eyes that see beyond the physical, into the depths of the soul. And yet, the phantom remains a figure of enigma, his true intentions as hidden as his visage. Is he a guardian angel, guiding her towards greatness, or a specter, drawing her into the depths of his own torment? The line between mentorship and manipulation blurs, as the young soprano finds herself caught in the web of the phantom's influence, her talent flourishing even as she struggles with the growing fear and apprehension that his presence brings. As the young soprano's star rises, so too does the legend of the Phantom of the Opera, a tale of beauty and terror intertwined, of a voice that commands the darkness, and a young woman who sings in the light, yet dances on the edge of shadows. The stage is set, the players in place. But in this opera of the unseen, the final act remains shrouded in mystery. A pact with darkness. As the Paris Opera House continues to bask in the glow of the spotlight, a darkness festers behind the scenes, a sinister force molding the fate of its inhabitants. The young soprano, now the pupil of the enigmatic Phantom, finds herself at the heart of a maelstrom, her destiny no longer her own to command. For the Phantom, no longer content to lurk in the shadows, seeks to cast his protege into the glaring light of fame, demanding nothing less than a leading role for her in the opera house's next grand production. His demands are not made openly, but through letters that appear as if conjured from the ether, their contents veiled in eloquence but underscored by an unmistakable threat. The handwriting, elegant yet chilling, becomes a harbinger of unease for the management of the opera house. Each letter, more insistent than the last, leaves no doubt as to the lengths the Phantom is willing to go to see his will done. The opera house management, a collection of seasoned impresarios and patrons of the arts, find themselves caught in a web of fear and intrigue. They convene in hushed meetings, the air thick with apprehension, as they ponder their course of action. The thought of acquiescing to the Phantom's demands is as repugnant to them as it is terrifying. Yet, the alternative defying an entity whose wrath has manifested in unexplained accidents, and whose presence is felt but never seen, leaves them paralyzed with fear. As the tension within the opera house mounts, the young soprano becomes increasingly aware of the precarious position she occupies. The phantom's unseen hand guides her career, pushing her towards greatness, yet she cannot shake the feeling of being a pawn in a game whose rules she does not understand. The thrill of her rapid ascent clashes with the dread of what price might be demanded of her in return. Meanwhile, the opera house becomes a battleground of wills. Some members of the management, driven by a mixture of fear and defiance, seek to unmask the phantom, to expose him as nothing more than a man, a disturbed genius perhaps, but a man nonetheless. They scour the opera house, from its opulent halls to the labyrinthine passages beneath, in search of clues to his identity and motives. But the phantom, ever elusive, seems to anticipate their every move, his letters growing more menacing, hinting at a catastrophe should his demands not be met. The atmosphere within the opera house becomes charged with a palpable sense of dread, each performance shadowed by the specter of his threat. As the night of the grand production draws near, the opera house is caught in a vortex of fear and ambition, its inhabitants torn between the desire for artistic triumph and the instinct for self-preservation. The young soprano stands at the eye of the storm, her voice the linchpin upon which the fate of all rests. Will the phantom's machinations bring about a new era of unparalleled success for the opera house, or will his obsession lead to its downfall? In the shadows of the Paris Opera House, where beauty and terror intertwine, the boundary between the stage and reality blurs. The curtain rises on a drama not scripted by any playwright, a tale of ambition, fear, and the dark pact that binds a young soprano to the phantom, her unseen maestro. The question that hangs in the air, as palpable as the notes of the overture, is simple yet profound. What is the true cost of greatness? Echoes of the past. Beneath the grandeur and splendor of the Paris Opera House, where the light of the chandeliers fades into darkness, lies a world forgotten by time, a labyrinth of catacombs and hidden chambers, where the echoes of the past whisper secrets to those who dare to listen. It is here, in the shadowy depths beneath the stage, that the story of the phantom takes root, a tale not born of mere fancy, but of flesh and blood, of heartache and a relentless pursuit of perfection. The phantom, known to the denizens of the opera house as a specter, a ghostly presence, was once a man of extraordinary talent and vision, whose life was intertwined with the opera house from its very inception. He was an architect, a genius whose designs breathed life into stone and mortar, giving birth to the edifice that would become a temple of art. But his genius did not stop at architecture. He was a composer of unparalleled skill, whose music sought to capture the essence of the human spirit. Yet, for all his talent, he was a man marked by tragedy. His visage, disfigured from birth, became the source of his torment, driving him into the shadows, away from the judgmental eyes of society. The opera house, his greatest achievement, became his sanctuary, and its catacombs, his refuge. Here, in the darkness, he found solace in music, crafting compositions that would never see the light of day. As the years passed, the architect, the composer, faded from the memory of those who walked the halls of the opera house above. But he did not fade into oblivion. Instead, he became something else, something more. He became the phantom, a specter whose presence was felt but never seen, whose influence reached from the depths to touch the lives of those who performed above. The catacombs that were his home are a reflection of the man self, a maze of beauty and darkness. Here, in rooms carved from the earth, lie instruments of every kind, and scores of music glittered across tables. The ink longs in stride. Candles flicker in the draught, casting shadows that dance to a melody only the phantom can hear. It is a place of contradiction, where opulence meets decay, and where the line between genius and madness is as thin as the pages of music that fill the air with silent notes. This is the lair of the phantom, a kingdom where he reigns unchallenged, surrounded by the artifacts of his life's work. But it is also a prison, a self-imposed exile from the world above. In the darkness, he has watched the opera house thrive, his only connection to the living world through the music he once loved, now a reminder of all he has lost. Yet, it is also here, in the shadow of his past, that the phantom finds the strength to shape the future. His influence on the young soprano, a talent he sees as the embodiment of his unfulfilled dreams, becomes his final masterpiece, an attempt to leave a mark on the world that has forgotten him. As the story of the phantom unfolds, the catacombs beneath the Paris Opera House stand as a testament to the complexity of his character, a man turned legend, whose life is a tapestry of light and shadow, of music that speaks of longing and desire, of a heart that, even in darkness, yearns for beauty. The echoes of the past linger in the air, a melody that carries the tale of the phantom, a spectre not of horror, but of a tragic, unending pursuit of perfection. A masquerade of shadows. In the heart of the Paris Opera House, under a dome of gilded elegance, the night unfolds in a spectacle of color and light, a grand masquerade ball, a tradition as old as the opera house itself, beckons the elite of Paris to partake in an evening of opulence and mystery. Masks of every imaginable design hide the faces of the guests, allowing them to dance with freedom and anonymity, a world where status and reality blur into the background. Yet, amid the laughter and the music, an undercurrent of anticipation vibrates through the air. Whispers of the phantom, the unseen maestro who haunts the corridors of the opera house, imbue the festivities with a sense of the surreal. It is on this night, cloaked in a guise of celebration, that the phantom chooses to make his presence known, not as a shadow or a whisper, but as flesh and blood among the revelers. As the clock strikes the midnight hour, a hush falls over the crowd. From the grand staircase descends a figure, commanding the attention of all present. His mask, unlike any other, is a masterpiece of intricate design, hiding his disfigurement, yet revealing the brilliance of his eyes. The phantom, in the guise of a guest, moves among them, a predator in the midst of his domain, stirring a chaos of emotion, fear, fascination, and awe. The young soprano, the jewel in the phantom's crown of obsessions, finds herself caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She has flourished under his tutelage, her voice reaching heights she had never dreamed possible. Yet, the mystery of her mentor, the force that guides her destiny from the shadows, fills her with a deep, unsettling fear. As she watches him move among the guests, the allure of the unknown, the man behind the mask, tugs at her soul, a melody that speaks of danger and desire. Their eyes meet across the room, a moment suspended in time, where the world around them fades into insignificance. In that glance, the phantom conveys a message, a challenge to confront the truth of their connection. The soprano, emboldened by the masquerade's anonymity, approaches him, her heart a tempest of fear and fascination. Their conversation, veiled in the ambiguity of the night, is a dance of words, where each sentence is a step closer to understanding or a move towards oblivion. The phantom, ever the enigma, offers her glimpses into his soul, revealing the depth of his passion for music and the darkness that has shaped his existence. This soprano, caught in the gravity of his presence, finds herself torn between the safety of the light and the allure of the darkness that surrounds her mentor. As the night wanes, and the masquerade reaches its zenith, the opera house becomes a stage for a drama not scripted by any playwright. The phantom, having revealed himself to the world, retreats once more into the shadows, leaving behind a trail of questions and a sense of unease that lingers in the air. The young soprano, now more entwined with the phantom's destiny than ever, stands at a crossroads. The masquerade has ended, but the masks they wear, the facades that hide their true selves, remain. In the aftermath of their encounter, she is left to ponder the path ahead, a journey that leads either to the light of the stage or into the depths of the catacombs, where the phantom waits, a figure of fear, fascination, and an undeniable, haunting allure. The price of ambition. As dawn breaks over the Paris Opera House, the remnants of the masquerade lie forgotten, a mere memory of revelry overshadowed by the palpable shift in the air. The encounter between the Phantom and the young soprano has left an indelible mark on the fabric of the opera house, a prelude to the storm that looms on the horizon. The Phantom, emboldened by his dramatic appearance, no longer contents himself with lurking in the shadows. His demands, once veiled in a guise of mentorship, now take on a more menacing tone, echoing through the corridors like a dark symphony of fret and accession. The ladders, which once bore the elegant script of a bygone era, now arrive with alarming frequency. Their contents, a stark ultimatum, elevate the young soprano to the pinnacle of the opera house's hierarchy, or face consequences dire and irreversible. The management, already frayed by their encounters with the unseen maestro, find themselves ensnared in a web of fear and desperation. The opera house, a beacon of art and beauty, has become a battleground where the line between the sublime and the sinister blurs. As the night of the premiere approaches, the air within the opera house is thick with anticipation and dread. The performers, aware of the tension that grips their sanctuary, move through their rehearsals with a sense of foreboding. The young soprano, the eye of the storm, finds herself isolated, her peers torn between envy and fear, unsure of how to navigate the churning waters that surround her. And then, without warning, the Phantom's warnings manifest into reality. During a rehearsal, a piece of the elaborate stage machinery, tampered with in the dark of night, malfunctions catastrophically. A set piece, meant to be the crowning glory of the production, comes crashing down, narrowly missing the performers below. The accident, averted only by a matter of seconds, sends shock waves through the opera house. The message is clear. The Phantom's frets are not mere bluster, but a harbinger of tragedy. The opera house is forced to confront the reality of the Phantom's existence, no longer a ghostly legend whispered in hushed tones, but a tangible threat to their very lives. The management, once divided in their approach to the Phantom's demands, now unites in a common goal: to protect their charges and the sanctity of the opera house. But the question of how to counter a force that seems to know their every move before they make it hangs heavy in the air. The young soprano, caught in the maelstrom of the Phantom's making, faces a crisis of conscience. The mentorship she once viewed as a gift now feels like a chain, binding her to a destiny marked by fear and danger. The opera house, her home, her haven, has become a stage for a macabre play, where the lines between the performance and reality are indistinguishably blurred. As the opera house reels from the near tragedy, the realization that the Phantom, a creature of their own making, must be confronted, becomes inescapable. The shadows that once provided refuge for the Phantom now seem to close in on him. As the opera house awakens to the challenge, the stage is set for a confrontation, a final act that will determine the fate of all involved. The price of ambition, the cost of dreams, hangs in the balance, a reminder that in the pursuit of greatness, the line between muse and monster is perilously thin. Thus each of solitude. In the stillness that follows the tempest, the Paris Opera House stands as a fortress against the encroaching darkness. Within its walls, a storm of a different kind brews, one that beckons the soul to tread the fine line between madness and genius, fear and fascination. At the heart of this tempest is the young soprano, her voice once a beacon of light, now a harbinger of the confrontation that looms. Torn between her loyalty to the phantom, the enigmatic mentor whose guidance has shaped her destiny, and the aspirations that burn within her heart, she makes a choice that will alter the course of their entwined fates. She decides to confront the phantom, to seek answers in the shadows that have so long governed your life. With a resolve tempered in the fires of uncertainty, the soprano descends into the depths of the opera house, each step a descent into the unknown. The catacombs below, a labyrinth of silence and stone, await her arrival, their secrets veiled in darkness. It is here, in the heart of solitude, that the true extent of the phantom's madness and genius is laid bare. The air grows colder, the silence deeper, as she navigates the twisting passages, her only guide the flickering flame of a lone candle. The walls, lined with the remnants of the phantom's life, tell a story not of a specter, but of a man. Manuscripts filled with compositions that speak of unbridled passion and profound despair lie scattered, a testament to a soul caught in the throes of eternal torment. Instruments, their strings untouched by time, who whisper the possibility of melodies lost to the darkness. And then she finds him, the phantom, in a chamber that serves as both sanctuary and prison. Surrounded by the artifacts of his genius, he is a figure of tragic grandeur, his mask no longer a shield, but a reminder of the chasm that divides him from the world above. The confrontation, long in the making, unfolds not with anger, but with an aching sorrow. The soprano, her voice trembling not with fear, but with a profound empathy, seeks to understand the man behind the legend, the soul behind the mask. The phantom, confronted with the purity of her intent, reveals the depth of his madness and genius. He speaks of a world that has cast him out, of the beauty he sought to create in the face of rejection, and of the darkness that has become his refuge. His music, he confesses, is his solace and his curse, a bridge to the world he can never be a part of. In his words, the soprano hears the echoes of his isolation, a siege of solitude that has held him captive far longer than the walls of his subterranean lair. As the candle burns low, casting long shadows across the chamber, a fragile understanding forms between mentor and protege. The soprano, moved by the revelation of the phantom's plight, sees not a monster, but a man, tortured by his own brilliance, seeking redemption in the only way he knows how. The descent into the depths has revealed not just the extent of the phantom's madness and genius, but the unbreakable bond that music has forged between them, a melody that transcends the darkness. The confrontation in a catacombs marks a turning point, a moment of clarity in the midst of chaos. For the soprano, the journey back to the light is not just a return to the world of the living, but a pledge to bridge the chasm that separates her from the phantom, to bring his music into the light, where it belongs. The siege of solitude has been breached, but the battle for redemption, for both the phantom and the soprano, is only just beginning. A symphony of despair. The Paris Opera House, a beacon of culture and beauty, now stands on the precipice of a night that promises to alter its very essence. The air is thick with anticipation and dread, as the final act of a drama, decades in the making, draws near. The young soprano, once a mere voice among many, now finds herself at the heart of a confrontation that will decide the fate of the opera house and all who dwell within its walls. As the curtain rises on this night of nights, the opera house is alive with a tension that is palpable, a collective breath held in anticipation. The audience, unaware of the drama unfolding behind the scenes, awaits the performance, eager for the spectacle of opera at its most grand. But beneath the surface, a battle of wills is being waged, a struggle between light and darkness, order and chaos. The phantom, his identity and intentions laid bare in a confrontation with his protégé, has set his ultimate plan into motion. It is a plan born of a lifetime of solitude and rejection, a master stroke that will cement his legacy within the opera house, even if it means bringing about its distraction. The catacombs beneath the opera house, once a silent witness to his torment, now serve as the stage for his final act, a symphony of despair that will echo through the ages. The soprano, armed with the knowledge of the phantom's torment and the depth of his genius, stands as the only one capable of reaching the heart of the man behind the mask. Alongside her, a cadre of those determined to end the phantom's reign of terror, their resolve hardened by the threat to their beloved opera house. Together, they descend into the depths, their path lit by the flickering flames of torches, their hearts burdened by the weight of what must be done. As they navigate the labyrinthine catacombs, the phantom's presence is everywhere and nowhere, his voice echoing off the stone walls, a taunt that guides and misleads. The very foundation of the opera house trembles. The air vibrates with the sound of unseen organs. The phantom's final composition, a requiem for a world that never understood him, The confrontation, when it comes, is as much a clash of ideals as it is a battle of wills. The phantom, confronted with the reality of his actions, faces the soprano, the embodiment of the beauty and purity he sought to possess but could never truly understand. Words are exchanged, not as threats, but as pleas for understanding, for redemption. The Phantom's ultimate plan, a final performance designed to bring the opera house to its knees, teeters on the brink of execution. In the end, it is the music that bridges the divide, the shared language of the soul that speaks louder than words. The soprano, her voice a beacon in the darkness, sings not for the audience above, but for the phantom, a serenade that carries with it the promise of forgiveness, of a peace long denied. It is a moment of vulnerability, of raw emotion, that pierces the heart of the phantom's madness, revealing the man beneath the mask. The outcome of the confrontation is as unexpected as it is profound. The phantom, moved by the soprano's plea, finds within himself the strength to halt the symphony of despair, to silence the requiem that threatened to be his final legacy. The very foundation of the opera house, once on the verge of collapse, stands firm, a testament to the enduring power of art and beauty over darkness and despair. As dawn breaks over a Paris opera house, the battle that raged in the shadows comes to a close. The phantom, his reign of terror ended, disappears into the annals of legend, leaving behind a legacy that will be whispered in the corridors of the opera house for generations to come. The soprano, her role in the drama complete, emerges not just as a voice of unparalleled beauty, but as a symbol of hope, of the possibility of redemption even for the most tormented of souls. In the aftermath of the confrontation, the opera house stands as a beacon of resilience, a reminder that even in the face of darkness, the human spirit, like the music that fills its halls, will always find a way to endure, to soar above the shadows and into the light. The final curtain. As the first light of dawn caresses the gilded edges of the Paris Opera House, a silence, profound and resonant, envelops the grand edifice. The night's tempest has passed, leaving in its wake a stillness that speaks of a saga concluded, of destinies forged in a crucible of sacrifice, love, and vengeance. This is the moment of dramatic resolution, the climax of a story that has woven its threads through the very soul of the opera house, leaving none who dwell within its walls untouched. In the aftermath of the confrontation, the opera house stands as a monument not just to artistic brilliance, but to the indomitable human spirit. The phantom, the enigmatic force that once cast a shadow over every note played and every word sung, has vanished into the ether, his presence a memory that flickers in the half-light of dawn. that the legacy he leaves behind is indelible, a testament to the complexities of the human heart, where darkness and light, beauty and terror, coexist in a delicate balance. The young soprano, through whose voice the final act was played, emerges from the night forever changed. Her journey into the depths, a descent into the heart of her own fears, and the revelation of the phantom's tormented soul, has imbued her with a strength she never knew she possessed. Her voice, once a mere instrument of melody, is now a beacon of hope, a symbol of the transformative power of empathy and understanding. The opera house itself, witness to the culmination of this tale of shadows and light, bears the scars of the night's ordeal. Yet, in the wake of the storm, there is a sense of renewal, a realization that from the ashes of conflict, new beginnings can be forged. The management and the artists, once divided by fear and suspicion, now find themselves united in their dedication to the sanctity of their art, their resolve strengthened by the trials they have endured. The legacy of the Phantom, enigmatic and profound, becomes a part of the opera house's lore, a story to be told and retold, a reminder of the thin line that separates genius from madness, love from excession. His final act, averted by the courage and compassion of one voice, becomes a legend, the truth of which fades into myth, leaving behind a mystery that will intrigue and inspire generations to come. As the curtain falls on this chapter of the Paris Opera House's history, the message it leaves behind is clear. In the darkest of nights, when shadows threaten to overwhelm the light, it is love, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of redemption that will guide us back to dawn. The Phantom of the Opera, a spectre of the night, leaves behind a legacy not of fear, but of the unbreakable bond between music and the human soul, a melody that transcends time, echoing in the hearts of those who dare to listen, to understand, and to love. And so, the opera house, resilient and majestic, continues to stand as a beacon of art and beauty, its halls filled with music, its air charged with the whispers of the past. The story of the Phantom becomes but a chapter in its illustrious history, a note in the grand symphony of life that plays on, ever beautiful, ever haunting, forevermore. Shadows dissipate. In the heart of Paris, where the river Seine flows, as a silent witness to centuries of history, the Paris Opera House stands resolute, its facade a testament to the enduring power of art and beauty. Within its walls, the echoes of arias past mingle with the whispers of those who walk its corridors, a symphony of life that continues unabated. Yet, among the tales of triumph and tragedy that have unfolded beneath its gilded dome, one legend endures, casting a long shadow that touches the soul of every artist who seeks to leave their mark upon its stage. The legend of the Phantom of the Opera. As the curtains fall and the lights dim, the Opera House thrives, a beacon of culture and a sanctuary for those who dare to dream. Let the tale of the Phantom, woven into the very fabric of its history, remains a cautionary tale, a reflection on the duality of the human condition. It is a story that speaks of ambition, the relentless pursuit of perfection that drives us to the brink of madness in our quest to capture the ephemeral beauty of art. But it is also a tale of isolation, a reminder of the price paid when the quest for beauty leads us into the darkness, away from the warmth of human connection. The Phantom, a specter born of genius and madness, serves as a mirror to our own fears and desires, a shadow that whispers of the fine line between brilliance and despair. Yet, within the heart of this cautionary tale lies a deeper truth, a glimmer of light in the darkness. It is the recognition that beauty, in its purest form, transcends the physical, reaching out from the shadows to touch our souls. The Phantom, for all his torment and solitude, sought to capture this beauty, to give voice to the silent melodies that haunt the edges of our dreams. As the Opera House continues to write its history, the legend of the Phantom becomes a part of its legacy, a story that is told and retold, a reminder of the shadows that dance just beyond the reach of the spotlight. It is a legend that invites us to reflect on our own ambitions, to question the paths we choose in our pursuit of art and beauty. And so, the Paris Opera House stands not just as a monument to the arts, but as a keeper of stories, of tales that remind us of the light and darkness that reside within us all. The Phantom of the Opera, a figure of tragedy and romance, becomes a symbol of our own search for beauty in the darkness, a reminder that even in the deepest night, there is hope, there is music, and there is light. As we step out from the shadows of the Opera House, carrying with us the melody of the Phantom's legacy, we are reminded that the search for beauty, in all its forms, is a journey that never ends, a song that plays on, echoing in the chambers of our hearts forevermore. And so, dear listeners, our journey through the hallowed halls of the Paris Opera House and into the heart of its most enduring legend draws to a close. We've traversed the shadowed line between light and darkness, walked the fine edge between genius and madness, and felt the poignant touch of unrequited love and unfulfilled dreams. The tale of the Phantom of the Opera, a story woven from the threads of fear, ambition, and the eternal quest for beauty, leaves us with a haunting melody that lingers long after the final note has faded into silence. As the echoes of our story dissipate into the night, the Opera House stands, a silent guardian of history and a testament to the power of art to move, to terrify, and to inspire. The legend of the Phantom, a myth as much as a mirror, reflects our own fears and desires, reminding us that within the shadows of our greatest achievements lie the seeds of our deepest doubts. But remember, dear listeners, that within every shadow there is light. In every note of fear, a chord of hope, and in every tale of darkness, a glimmer of beauty waiting to be discovered. The Paris Opera House and the phantom that haunts its legacy serve as a reminder that art, in all its forms, has the power to transcend time, to touch the soul, and to illuminate the darkness. As we bid farewell to the Paris Opera House and the specter that lingers within its walls, let us carry with us the melody of the phantom's legacy, a reminder of the beauty that exists in the shadows, the music that plays in the darkness, and the light that shines within us all. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the heart of one of opera's most captivating legends. Until we meet again, may your days be filled with music, your nights with dreams, and your heart with the courage to explore the shadows. This is the end of our story, but the melody lingers on. Good night, dear listeners, and may the phantom's music guide you, ever gently, back to the light